All right, awesome. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our monthly coaching call. And we are going to be doing something very unique today, as you all can see from the topic that we have today. And I'm particularly excited about this topic and, excited that people kind of want to go in this direction just because, many of us on the calls are working professionals, and I know that there are a few of us on the call that are definitely looking for other alternatives besides, a 9 to 5 job. Even if we do not plan to completely leave the corporate world, we probably want to have maybe a side business or maybe just side investments. And many times people always think about, business. And one of the biggest challenges that many of us face is always, finding our feet. How do we choose the right business for us, that would work out really well? And so I think this topic actually aligns really well for those of us that are considering, alternatives to just a 9 to 5 job. And, for those of us that have that dream to kind of kick off. All right, so for us to get started, I have a quick icebreaker for us. So it's called Two Truths and a Dream. And basically, it's really easy. What we're going to be doing is basically you're going to share two truths about maybe a professional skill set that you have, or maybe, an experience that you feel like is really valuable that you have. And you're going to share one dream business you did love to start, okay? So let's get started with Joe. Joe, two truths and a dream. What would be your two experience, skill set, whatever it is that you have? I would like.
Wow, two truths and a dream.
Yes.
Wow, experience.
It could be a
Okay,
skill set. It could be, two truths, two skill sets that you have, and one business
okay,
you would love to start. Yes.
okay. Skill set. Okay, so one skill set. I all right. Yeah, sorry. Trying to think. Wow, I wasn't expecting this. Share two truths about your professional skills or experience and one dream business. Okay. Um, one truth. Okay, the first truth will be in my first 5 months in my place of work, I got a promotion.
Okay.
And secondly, I support multiple teams, right?
Okay.
Then the dream would be I would like to have a media empire.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Let's have someone else on the call try. So let's see. Anyone interested? Because I feel like I put Joe on the spot. So let me not call names. Anyone else wants to participate in our two truths and a dream? Basically, two professional skill set that you have, or maybe an experience that you had, and maybe one business dream you did love to start. Anyone wants to give it a try?
I'll go.
All right.
Two truths. I'll say I'm a good listener, and I have experience in the medical lab field. One dream that I would like to, business dream is build a school in Ghana.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. One more person. Let's see whether we can have one more person try. Two truths and a dream. Do you have to
I'll
skip?
go.
All right. Awesome. Thank you.
So truths and a dream. Um, so two truths. You said skill. I'm an exceptional Scrum Master, if I say so myself. Well, yeah. And then I'm an amazing friend to all my friends. I look out for them. Some can bear me witness. And the dream is that I have two dreams. It's about to materialize. Woo-hoo. I'm wrapping up my album, and I'm writing a children's book as well. I give the last draft of the book to I forget what they're called. then to print the stuff, yeah, I give the last draft to them. And so it's pretty much almost done. So that dream is about to be a reality, baby.
Awesome. That is awesome. Great, great. All right, so let's kind of get moving. I feel like everybody knows about me here, but because what do you call it? I extended the invite to, other people. So I felt like maybe other people might join. But just for the purpose of the fact that this is being recorded, almost everybody on this call knows me to be an agile coach. Maybe another part that people don't really know is that I am an entrepreneur and I have 5 businesses across 2 countries. I have 3 located in Lagos, Nigeria, and then I have 2 over here in the United States. So I think that's something that a lot of people might not know, or maybe might have ideas about it just based on the conversations that we've probably had in a couple of calls. But yes, that is another life of me that I spend, when I'm not doing like anything agile related, then, that's where you would find me. All right, so moving on to today's discussion, basically, the objective for today is really to empower us all on this call to identify and select, the business venture that kind of aligns with our personal passions, our strengths, and obviously the market opportunity that exists out there, and to kind of provide you guys like tools and insights that will be necessary for you guys to identify, your skills, your interests, identifying the market, and start, crafting that plan that will kind of help you achieve success at the end of the day. So looking at our agenda, we had introduction and icebreaker, which we did. We're going to go into understanding yourself, the opportunities, the research, financial considerations, evaluating the business models, and then you planning for your business. And then any questions that we have, then we'll definitely take it. But you guys understand, the way I work. If you have any question just as I'm talking, feel free to kind of like bring that up, because this is not like a lecture, right? This is meant more of like, a conversation, where I'll be sharing my experience of how I found my own fate, how did I choose the right business for me, and how that is really working for me. And one thing I like to share is for you to start a business and decide what business to start, it's very important that you understand who you are. And I feel like this is one mistake that I made very early on, and I'll quickly share my experience with you in a minute. Even though I kind of knew who I was or what I wanted to become, in life, when you kind of like ask me what your overall purpose was, I knew that, but for some reason, I did not think that there was an important need to connect who I was to my business. And it was much later that I found out that it's very important that your overall purpose in every business and even the careers that we have aligns with that. Otherwise, we're just going to be frustrated along the line. Sometimes we might initially get the vibe like, oh, let's say we're making the money. And that's why sometimes you see that even those that are making money are sometimes unhappy and different things just happen to them. And that's because whatever they're doing is not aligned with their overall purpose, right? So sharing a quick experience with you, in 2016 was when I kicked off my first business, right? And when I kicked off my first business, I didn't think about who I was and all of that. For me, I just went straight into, oh, there's a market need. Let's try to capture that market need. And let's see how we can make money from it by solving a problem, right? And then my first business was called Lion Shuttle Services. And basically, I kicked off a shuttle business here in the United States. And that was because where I schooled, there was a big need for shuttle services. The entire city didn't even really have like a shuttle service. And Texas being Texas, it's not like we even have a good transportation system. Everybody literally has cars. And so, that school had a lot of international students. That community was 60% the students. And so it just sounded like, the perfect idea for that to be a shuttle service. I did not have a car all through my master's program. I used to leech off of, my friends and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I decided to go ahead and launch this shuttle business. Now, after I launched the business, besides the fact that I clearly made, some mistakes when it even comes to like my market research and going deep into that, a big part of the mistake that I actually made was the fact that, like I said, I did not connect who I was and who I wanted to be and how this business actually aligned with it, right? And for me, I'll kind of speak through an aspect of my purpose and my financial goals and how they kind of align. So when it comes to my purpose, right? I'm someone who at the climax of my life, I want to be someone who inspires individuals to achieve success. I want to be that person who empowers individuals to be able to achieve their goals and their dreams. And there's very different things that I've done in different parts of my life that at the end of the day connects that dream. So even the entire Agile community that I created was an opportunity to actually allow individuals to be able to achieve, success in their careers and make money from themselves. So that is aligned, but obviously I started that much later after understanding how things align. Now, in order for me to be able to empower people and preach to people, understanding that success is possible and you can really achieve your goal, it is important for me to also be financially capable in some instances to be able to provide to certain either communities or organizations or whatever it is that might be in need, right? And this is me talking about like the grand scheme of things, when it comes to my goals, right? I see myself as an individual where, when I want to get into maybe the educational sector in my country, I have the resources to be able to build schools. I have the resources to be able to build hospitals, because when I'm able to provide the basic amenities for certain individuals, right, then they are able to have the mindset to be able to think of, how do I even achieve my goals and my dreams? How do I achieve success? But there are lots of people that don't even have the luxury to even think about achieving success because they don't even have the basic amenities of life. They can't provide 3 square meals for themselves. They don't have a good roof over their head. They're sick or family members are sick, right? So this is me talking big scale, right? Now, why am I saying this? It means that if I want to achieve that goal, I need to be financially buoyant, right? Now, for me to be financially buoyant, it means that whatever business I want to start has to be able to help me achieve that overall goal. And for me to achieve that overall goal, besides different ways that I could get there, I need financial resources to be able to also get there, right? Now, going back to the first business that I started. When I started that business, because there was no alignment with my goal and, what I wanted out of life was just the fact that, oh, there's a need, go solve the need. I didn't connect the financial goal, aspect of it. And when I started the business, I only realized that, okay, even though there is a need, the market that needs this service that you're providing is extremely small. So at the end of the day, even though there were some mistakes that I made, and obviously every mistake you make can always be solved because you can always find a solution to that, I had to sit down and think about it that, okay, even if I solved all the problems with this business and start to keep pushing, this business cannot even get me to the goal that I needed, because first of all, like I said, the community, 60% were students, right? 3 months in the year, the city was empty because it was really a student community besides the locals that were supporting, the school that was the major thing in that place, right? And even the students, I also forgot the fact that when I was a student, there was no shuttle service, right? So there was a need. However, we used to, if we had a friend that had a car, we would all come together, 5 of us would come together and, fuel that car, maybe we're bringing $10 together because we're driving maybe where we're going to an hour or 2 hours back and forth, and come together and then donate, buy fuel, and then, go and sometimes even buy food for the person who's going to be driving us and all that kind of stuff, which meant that when it comes to students, we don't have a lot of cash. So we can't just casually spend, any type of amount when it comes to transport, because we had an alternative, which was our friends that we could beg and pay $10 and all of that. And then when I did my market, and this one was, I started doing that after the business has started, I realized that there's a minimum amount I needed to charge in order for, that shuttle service to actually even be able to move in a day. So long story short, the business wasn't just visible. So I was like, you know what? Just cut your loss. I ran the business for a year. there were times that a driver would not be available to drive. I would have to go drive. And meanwhile, I had a full-time job. So I had to drive, maybe take morning shifts, like really early morning shift because somebody had placed an order, or booked an appointment, or evening shift. It was stressful. Like, it was like, who sent me to go do this? Like, if I just stayed in my 9-to-5 job, life would have been much better. But in retrospect, when I look at it, I realized a lot of mistakes that I made. But the one thing that really motivated me to just kind of call it off and call it quits was even when I sat down to really do the financial analysis, the market, which were things that obviously I should have done before, really well. I figured out that this business, you can't even bring me a decent percentage that would even lift a finger. Like, you can't. So why did I even bother, with myself? And, taking that failure with me and making it into a learning opportunity, I was able to then launch my second business in 2018. And then I've launched, as of today, 5 over there. And then it's just been progress over progress because I've learned the hard way. And so in order for those of you on the call who may not have started your business, I'm saving you all of that headache to tell you that it's very important that you understand who you are, understand what your ultimate goal is, understand who you want to be in this life, understand, like, what is my overall aim when it comes to life? What do I want to be known for? After when I'm long gone, what do I want people to remember me for? And it's very important. And people are not going to remember you for the fact that you worked in Toyota or you worked in PepsiCo or you worked in any of those places. No. It's the impacts that you are going to make that people are going to remember you for. And so, it's important that before we launch a business and even trying to decide what kind of business do we want to launch, it's very important that we understand our purpose, right? Because it's the foundation to a thriving business. If you understand yourself, if you understand what drives you, what inspires you, what makes you think, you'll be able to pick the right business that will be aligned, that will help you achieve that overall purpose. And even when the hard gets harder, you'll be able to push through because this is a source to my overall goal, right? So it changes the perspective, it changes your mindset, and it just helps you, it puts you in a better pedestal for success, right? So one question I want to ask you guys on the call today is this. So if I ask you this question, what is your purpose in life? Who on this call has an immediate and clear response for me? Who has taken out the time to think through life and be able to say, you know what? This is my purpose when it comes to life. And obviously, you might not be in that purpose right now, which is absolutely okay. But understanding exactly what you want out of your life is actually the first step, right? Because then it starts this, guiding all the decisions that you make afterwards. So does anybody on the call want to take a stab at it? Does anybody on the call have a clear purpose when it comes to what their primary aim of life is and what they want to be known for?
So, Coach, I have a question. So, I feel like for me personally, this particular topic is in different facets of life. I feel like there can be your career goal or purpose, and then there's your personal purpose. So, which one are we expected to speak on?
So I'm asking to speak on your life purpose. Your career is also a part of your life. And I think you brought out a great point because I think that's also something that we always kind of mistake. We try to separate different parts of our lives, and that's not it. You're just one person. You have one soul, you have one mind and one spirit. You're one. Everything else should be in harmony. Now, I get it. We might be in different phases of life where we're yet to realize how to harmonize different parts of our lives. It's perfectly fine. I've been there. I've been in different careers that did not align. I became a project manager and eventually became an agile coach or a scrum master before I became an agile coach because I understood that one of my gifts and my overall goal in life and the vehicle that will allow me to achieve that was speaking. Speaking is my gift, right? So I decided to start looking for careers that will put me in that position to always be speaking, to always be empowering, to always be coaching. And that's how I got into project management. right? But before then, I've done customer service. I've done different things. Those things were not aligned, right? If I'm not empowering people, if I'm not helping people achieve their goals, if I'm not helping people become better, I'm not functioning in my life purpose, right? But I got to that phase where I understood it and decided to go look for a career that even aligned with it before I even started to think about business. So eventually, even if we are like career-minded individuals where, you know, we don't have plans to run a business, which is absolutely fine, we still have to get to that phase where we find the career that suits our calling, our gift, our, you know, different things we like. There's some people that they like to nurture. And so you see them in, and that's why, you know, there are diverse careers in this, you know, in this world. So, but, you know, coming back to this conversation, the question is your goal. And that, you know, when it comes to your life, what do you want your life to be known for at the end of the day? Your life would not be known for the fact that you were an agile coach or a scrum master, right? Nah, that's not what they're gonna write on your stone. He was a scrum master for 20 years. No.
Of course.
Yeah, I get that, which is good. I'm glad you helped us clarify. You helped me clarify because you know this is like the pockets of these types of things. So holistically, my own personal goal is I want to be a bridge builder. I want to be in a position where people would say, or you know, walk people through the processes of their lives, helping them achieve their own personal goals, be it spiritual and otherwise. And I'm already working on that, maybe like counseling, like I mentioned on one time in our one of the meetings that we're daily scrums that we were having, a situation where we were having, I was able to identify that one of my developers was having problems with the previous situation that he had that he was bringing to work. You know, so I helped him work through that process. And with another one of them, I noticed that he struggled with a lot of self-doubt because in his previous jobs he had, you know, been in a situation where he would just lose the jobs and there was no conversation. So I had to I identified that he needed to be what's that word when you encourage people, but that's not the right I forget how he said. He needed validation, exactly. There you go, from his superiors. So I provided that for him, and he's thriving so much better. So for me, those are the things that I live for, to help encourage people, uplift them, and show them the best, help them achieve the best versions of themselves. Period.
Okay, so that's perfect. I mean, the goal here, you know, one thing I like to state is sometimes discovering your purpose in life is, you know, a process in itself. For me, I feel like it's taken me, you know, years. The first time I started putting pieces together was probably like, you know, over probably 18 years ago or thereabout, you know. And then sometimes you would even lack clarity because life would take you in a different direction, and then you'd have to go to that direction because you just have to survive. And then after a while, you come back to so life would also showcase itself to you in different times and moments. And then sometimes we have to respond almost immediately where, man, it's not important for me to work in my purpose. Right now, I just need to eat. Right now, I need to feed.
Yeah.
Right now, I need to be in a different country. Right now, my family needs to survive. So all of those things, you know, might also cloud us and make us go in a different direction. However, you know, whenever you get to that phase where you feel like, okay, I'm not in a position where there's clarity, there's calmness around me, you know, understanding that goal, you know, helps you then make better decisions once you get to that, you know, phase where you feel like, okay, now, where do I want myself to be? You know, how do I want to pursue? Joe, looks like you have your hand up. Did you have a question?
Yeah, coach, I do. So yeah, I just really want to talk about my purpose. So
Oh, gotcha.
I do believe that my purpose would be, you know, to be a liberator, right? To help people get clarity in most things that they are, you know, kind of lost and confused, you know, in, right? So so ever since arriving in the UK, I was able to transition to become a Scrum Master. I mean, it was a discovery, to be honest. And what I've been doing is to also help people, you know, do the same, in the sense that when I come across people of my color, right, people that look like me, what I've been doing, you know, consistently is to let them know that, see, there is something beyond what you're doing, right? Especially when they're still, you know, moving around on that table. jobs. Yeah, there's dignity in labor, but you can be more than this. And what I realized is that most people, it's not that they don't want to go move to the next level of their life, but they don't even have the information. They don't have the information. So what I've been doing is to take out my time to consistently, talk to people whenever I have the opportunity to, right? So I have had to attend like 2 to 3 um, seminars to go and talk about, see, guys, you can be a scrum master, you can do this, you can do that instead of doing that, right? So I've really been doing that, and another thing I've done in that aspect is to, start preparing my friends, my guys around, in Nigeria that see if you have plans to come to the abroad, to go to the US or to Canada or to the UK, don't go with the mindset of you just want to go and do anything. You can start preparing now, right? So it's a core purpose for me. And another thing I'm doing, in that line is also to seek more knowledge so that I can be able to better communicate this to people, let them know. I mean, when I have sufficient information, I'm able to share better knowledge and ideas to people. And I guess that is one of the reasons why I'm actually on this call today. And just let me quickly mention this, coach. I think I would have to have a personal session with you so that I can know how to put shape and structures to these things.
Of course, I'm here for you guys.
Yeah.
All right, I'm excited for for the people that were able to discuss, and even for those that are quiet, it's absolutely fine. Not everybody has to speak, and some people might even still be in the process of discovering themselves, and it's absolutely okay. It's not who discovers it first, is what did we do about it after when we figured it out. Also, I want us to also understand that our purpose, even when we understand it, is still going to be limited by our mindset, right? So whatever level we're working on right now is a limited version of what that purpose could be. Your purpose could be as grand as it could be. However, with our current level, we would only do things on our level, right? And I'll just kind of explain that to you guys. So I think I shared my grand purpose with you guys because I feel like I've spent too much time on it that I'm able to kind of gain clarity that even when people bring other things my way, I can easily say no because I know that, nah, this doesn't align. I would not do it, that kind of stuff. Even if sometimes I try to look at money and be like, oh, this looks good. And then after a while, I'm like, nah, it doesn't align. So for example, Agile, and when I started the whole community and started talking about, Agile and Scrum on YouTube, it was an expression of my purpose, right? However, as I focus on different paths in my life and as I expand, sometimes I would express my overall purpose in a slightly different manner. And I'm sure a few of you that probably follow like my personal pages would have noticed that throughout this year, I've been focused on talking about business, helping small business owners, run a more successful business, grow their business, make it thrive. Because that's the phase I am in my life. I've run my business for over 6 years now, and I feel like there's a lot that I can help other people. I see a lot of business also struggling and just there. And so I'm in that phase. Same thing happened to me when I was an agile coach, seeing so many Scrum Masters struggle. And I'm like, you know what, I want to help Scrum Masters. And right now, because I've spent a good amount of time running businesses, and I'm like, you know what, that's the face of my life that I want to express, which is still an expression of my purpose. So what am I trying to say? Sometimes you might start expressing in a way that you're like, oh, but I want to be a superstar. Let's say, for example, right? And you're like, how would me being at this job make me a superstar? The most fun thing is, what are you doing that aligns to that superstar-like goal? If you're doing things, no matter how small it is, you were still on track because as you grow personally, that goal starts expanding and what you can do about that goal keeps expanding. Okay? Sunny, I see your hand up. Do you have a question? All right. Okay. So maybe that was just wrong. All right. So moving on.
No, I did have a question. I know you mentioned our purpose in life. I'm still discovering, but I hear many times like, it also has to align with your passion. Like, what are you passionate? You also want to do something. You want to fulfill your purpose.
Um,
that
the
aligns with, yeah, sorry, my son, that aligns with your passion and stuff. So I definitely want to make sure. I'm gonna go on mute because my son.
Okay. All right. Looks like she's busy. So let's move on. So now, for those of us on the call that might still be in the process of, discovering our purpose, there's several questions that you can ponder on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out those questions from this point and probably put it in a page as a PDF document and probably just send it out so that, everybody can kind of go through it, But there are a few things like, what activities do you do that really just takes all of your attention when you lose track of time? For me, it's speaking. For me, it's when I'm coaching. It's when I am encouraging somebody to do better, to achieve more. I'm the kind of individual that sees a world where everybody can be successful. And as difficult as that task is, because we also have so many external forces that is fighting people from living better lives, that is dragging people down, I still see that world. I still dream of that life. I go out and I know the success means different things to different people, but I still want whatever success means to you to be accomplished. And I know that you can, right? So for me, that's what I think about every day. And one of the ways that I'm able to express that is speaking, and then because I see a world, that means I have to also speak on global platforms. I have to go big to be able to accomplish that goal. But obviously it's going to take, steps and, progress and all of that, but looking at some of the questions, from your experience, what do people frequently ask you for advice or assistance that can guide you in terms of like, oh, should you start doing this? What unique abilities do you have that kind of sets you apart? During which moments did you experience the greatest fulfillment? What are the things that makes you happy? These are just a couple of questions that you could always kind of think about over and over and over again. And with time, you'll figure it out. And let me just kind of share, a backstory that might also help you guys out. When I left college, this is way like a long time ago, when we graduated, I went to a college, a private university where, the average students in that school came from a very comfortable family, right? At least half of the school, right? And for those of you who are Nigerians, you might be familiar with Igbenedion University, right? So when I graduated, many of my friends already had life planned out for them by their parents. I was probably one of the few people that just got privileged to go to the school. So it wasn't as if, oh, I came from a rich family, but there were many students that came from rich families where as we finished college, they started working for their parents or they launched their business, some that were fashion designers. Everybody just went on doing different things. And then here I was, confused. Okay, so what am I going to do in my life? I studied international relations, came out of school. There was no career path for international relations. I thought I could be an ambassador. Do you know that was a different lifestyle entirely? It was just like a moment in my life where I was like, okay, God, now what am I going to do with my life? And that started this journey of me thinking and asking myself these questions, So every time I ask myself a question, okay, what am I even good at? What skill sets do I have? What do people come to me for? What do people do this? What can I do? And then I started to jot down the different parts of me, right? So I noticed that back then, when I was in church, I used to act. So I knew that I was good in acting. And I'm sure Emmanuel on the call, we've come way back. So he probably knows, my journey through acting in church dramas and stuff like that in church and all of that. Okay, so I was like, okay, I can act. Should I go into acting? That was an option. What else can I do? When I was in school, I used to advise everybody on relationships. Oh my goodness. I used to advise my friends, all the kids. I just had a thing to for relationships. When I see you being maltreated, I was like, how can you take this? Don't you know your what? I was that kind of person. So I wrote that down. Should I be a relationship person? But at that point in time, I felt like, man, you needed years of experience. I was like, nah, I don't think I can be a relationship person, not just yet, right? Then, I also thought about what else can I do? Then I remembered that besides the fact I used to give relationship advice, I noticed that people would naturally come to me for just advice or help or my opinion. And they used to listen to me. That's something else I noticed. There was one thing for people to come to me. I noticed that people used to listen to me and do something about what I tell them to do. So I noticed that, okay, what was the common factor in all of these things? Then I noticed that I had a gift when it comes to speaking. There's something about the way I speak that makes people listen. I also now started noticing that even this same speaking got me into trouble many times, right? So maybe somebody will say, oh, she's stupid, and the person will take it as a joke. If I repeat the same word and say that that person is stupid, like the person will just take it and declare war. So maybe it was in the way I stretched how I said it or the attitude behind it. I just knew that there was something about the way I spoke. And over time, I realized that my words were powerful. They carried weight. There was just something about the way I spoke that either if I said it positively, it was going to make an impact, or if I said it negatively, it was still going to make an impact on that person. So, over time, I realized that, okay, even with acting, I went for a few acting gigs and auditions, and I always kind of got the role, but I never pursued that because, I also came from a Christian background, and most of the roles that I initially got had to do with relationship. They will touch you, they will kiss you. So all of those things were weird to me. So I was like, nah, I can't do this, all that kind of stuff. And then when you're new to acting, you don't have the privilege to be able to choose your role. So I just knew that, nah, I don't think acting is for me. I feel like it was against my values as, an individual. So I didn't pursue, that. But then I knew that, okay, even with acting, it still had to do with the way I spoke, the way I expressed my attitude and all that kind of stuff. So the common factor there was still speaking. When it came to advice I gave my friends, common factor was speaking. When it came to advice about relationship, common factor was speaking. And then, I started to put pieces together and realized that, okay, you have a gift when it comes to speaking, but then what do you do with it? But that was all I discovered at that time. And I moved on with life and got myself a customer service job because I still didn't have any kind of skill set to kind of help me because all I had was international relations background, right? And so I went to customer service. When I started to do customer service, I was like, nah, this is not for me. I didn't have any way to express myself. Customer service, I was talking the same thing. It was not even anything that required me to think. It was horrible. That's when I knew that, customer service ain't for me. And then these questions kept coming over and over again. Okay, what can you do? What can you not do? And then I used to, immerse myself in research, having discovered the kind of things that I knew that I could do. So maybe kind of find meaning to it. Sometimes I'll type somebody who is very good at speaking. What can they do? That was how I discovered motivational speaking and inspirational speaking. I was like, oh my God. So there is a career called motivational speakers. And that was when I knew that, okay, looks like I found a path that can help me express it. But even at that time, this was a long time ago, I still did not know how to express it. So obviously, I started to go back to the real world of, okay, what job can I get? But then I was then more careful and I was like, okay, what kind of job would give me the opportunity to speak, to coach, to educate and all of that? And that's how I discovered project management. That was how, and that goes back to the question that Emmanuel asked when I was talking about how once you even uncover and discover who you are, you can then start aligning yourself because it helps you make informed decisions, right? And that's when I discovered project management, went through the training for it and, sat down, wrote the exam, and then started my career as a project manager, leading up to, me discovering Scrum. And today I'm an agile coach. And this is like the last over 10 years of my life. But along the line, I've always known that, hey, every time as I keep asking myself this question, clarity comes, every day. I have a better understanding. As my life also improves, I have much bigger understanding because now my mindset is much bigger, it's better, it's more refined, and it helps me, on a day-to-day basis, right? So these are some of the questions that you can always think about. And the more you think about it, it would gradually help you refine those ideas, those skill sets, and ultimately you will crystallize what your ultimate vision is for your life. And then you start making those steps, whether it's in a career, whether it's in investments, whether it's in business, whether it's in whatever you want to do with your life. It would help you then understand, what you want to do with it. Let me give you guys even something else, a very recent example. So I met somebody who sells insurance, like life insurance and stuff like that. So after like, I concluded my transaction with her, she now told me that, oh, I think you should also get into selling life insurance. I think you can sell, it's a good fit for you. And this kind of gave me the numbers of, what the possibilities are. And when I saw the numbers, like, man, these numbers don't look bad. But because I've kind of like learned so much over the years, even though I told her I was going to think about it and actually even kind of like scheduled to write the exam so that I could get certified, because I'm all about expanding my skill sets and all of that. After a while, I sat down and looked at the most successful people in that industry, what they did to be able to get there. Because remember, now I'm very conscious of my goal, overall purpose, and I also make sure everything I'm doing aligns. And I realized that for me to get there, where those people are to be able to get the kind of money that I needed to make that my overall career path. And I was like, no, selling insurance does not align with my life in any way, even though, yes, you get to speak to people. Even the way you get to speak to people, the follow-ups, I don't like it. At the end of the day, I came to a conclusion that no, even though there's money to be made there, that is not how I want to make money. There are other alternatives for me based on my skills, my experience, my goals that can bring me that same equivalent, and I don't have to go through that path. And that's what understanding who you are would help you do. Not every business opportunity is your business opportunity, right? Same way, all of us are not doctors, all of us are not lawyers, all of us are not, pilots. It doesn't mean that we cannot all make the same type of money doing the different things we're doing. Doesn't mean that we cannot all make impact, but you have to understand who you are and how you are going to get to that overall goal that, you want. All right. So now, once you understand who you are and what you want to be, and, that might still be a process for you. Or once you start getting clarity, right, you need to start figuring out like, what skill sets do I have? What expertise do I have? What experience do I have? Going back to when I kicked off, I started asking those questions early enough after college. And that was because, I was stranded. I didn't know what to do. So those questions started coming. And even though I was in a customer service job, I'd realized that I did not have the skill sets to get me to where I want to go. And that's what led me into project management and learning that new skill so I can start building the right experience. Because I knew that customer service, like, you don't even have a goal. Like, customer service, like, it was just a confusing career for me. I was just like, what is all this? And then I started building it, because you're going to need skills and experience to be able to, go in whatever direction you're going to go. Even if you want to start investing today, you're going to at least learn about it, right? So it might be a new skill set you're going to have to get. And then with time, as you start practicing, you start getting better with it. So clearly, once you understand who you are, right, you need to start looking into your skills, like, okay, what am I good at? What experience do I have? That's how, agile coaching, to the public started for me. In 2019, I'd already kind of started in, I think, 2018, 2019, just to like people based on referrals. And then 2020, I was like, I'm going to go on YouTube and speak to even complete strangers, right? And that's because I'd already had the skill sets, right? So when it was like, okay, Yinka, what you want to do with your life right now, that aligns with your purpose, I'm like, okay, what skill set do I have in my bucket list? I was like, okay, I'm a great teacher and I have a great expertise in Agile. Okay, combining teaching and your skill set in Agile, you can start talking on YouTube and hopefully, create a course that people can enroll in. And that was how, I combined both to be able to do that. And realize how, because I already kind of knew who I was, it was much easier for me to be able to kick off and say, you know what, I'm starting Agile coaching as a business, and this is my plan. YouTube is going to be my marketing platform and whatnot. And that's how I met majority of you guys that know me today. But it was much easier because I already understood who I was, and then I was able to then play around with the skill set that I had. Now, sometimes we might know who we are, but we might not have the skill sets that will help us get there. So it's at that time that you want to start figuring out, like, okay, what skill sets do I need to start picking up today that will help us. For me, realizing that, speaking, teaching, and all of that is a gift that I have, I still would do things that would give me opportunities to earn it and get better. And that's one of the reasons why I also started YouTube, because I'd already started YouTube as a channel before I eventually now even started the second channel, which was like focused on Agile and Scrum. But why did I even start YouTube in the first place? I needed an opportunity to get better with my communication, get better with the way I speak, get better with how to address audience, get over stage fright, all of those kind of things. And YouTube has been phenomenal in achieving that for me, because I remember the first day I recorded, like, even though I had a gift for speaking, oh my goodness, when you start something new, that's when you know that you have no clue. I was like, I'm speaking to a camera, really? So what am I supposed to look at? What am I supposed to look at? I started to forget what I was supposed to say and all of that. And then today people see me and they feel like, oh my goodness, she's so smart, she's so clean. But that took years of practice, So when it comes to, at the end of the day, we're starting a business, all of these things makes it easier for us, all of these things. And that's what you see so many people struggling in business. And it's because they didn't take the due diligence to just do what would make life much easier for them and, give that business a chance to thrive. Because right now, some of us might be thinking, okay, why do I have to do all of this just because I'm trying to figure out the kind of business to start? You can either go the easy way or the hard way. Hard way is always where most people go because they feel like, okay, I feel like there's a market need to do X, Y, Z. Let me jump into it. You don't even know the shocks that are waiting for you when you jump into it. Business in itself is not easy. Being in the wrong business, even harder. Not making money, 3 times harder. And at the end of the day, only for you to now fail in that business. And then if you're not even very confident in who you are, you might not start relating that failure to your life and think you're a failure. Meanwhile, it was just the business that failed. So you want to reduce all of those and give yourself a better chance of survival. And, following this path, at least, my life and using 5 businesses under my belt has proven to be a much better way because I can see the big difference compared to when I started the first business, which was Lion Shuttle Services, and compared to when I started the rest. So moving on, now that you have the skill set, let's assume that you have the skills, you understand who you are, then you're not focused on your objective, right? And your objective is, now that I understand who I am, now that I've kind of aligned all of my skill sets, what business would help me get there? It's very important. That's what I realized with Lion Shuttle Services. That business, you ain't going to help me get there. Nah, no way, not in this world. Or you going to help me get there, right? Population was not even on my side. So many things were not on my side. It will have been a local, small type of business. And that's not me. That's not the kind of life that I want for myself. Other people may want that kind of life, and that's perfectly okay. I don't play small in anything I do. I always dream big and I want to go big. So I don't want to do like small things and not. So it didn't align. So me understanding who I was, understanding the skill set that I had and also could improve on, helped me to be able to understand what my objective was. And then based on that, I then said, okay, you know what? This business, based on the market need and based on what I know of who I am and the kind of thing I want, I think this business is a good fit. And when you're even trying to decide that business, please, even though you're thinking about like your overall goal in life, never leave out the financial goals of your life also, right? Besides the fact that we all want to make impact in this life, we don't want to do that being broke, I want to assume, right? Many people want to be able to live comfortable lives and be able to achieve their goals in the same manner. And that's why you see like musicians, how the ones that experience so much success, how, sometimes they're happy besides, all of the other politics that comes with it because they are doing what they love and making money while doing it. It's fulfilling for them. Obviously, the whole industry still has its own play that might affect us as people. But besides that, that's the best life that you can have, where you're like aligned with your goals. And that alignment also feeds your financial goals. It's very important because not every business will give you the type of money that you want. Not every business will do that. So for me, whenever I want to start a business, I'll map out all of my skill sets. Obviously, I already know who I want to be. Map out all my skill sets. Like, okay, this skill, which one aligns? There's so many skills that I have that might never find the expression of day because this skill set, maybe you helps me, or maybe that skill set is going to help another skill set that will help me achieve my goal better, right? There's so many skills that I have. I'm very good when it comes to interior design. I know so many people that have told me, why don't you go into it? No. It ain't gonna help me. No, I'm not doing that. And then when I even say it's not gonna help me, obviously there's so many people that are successful in that path. So when I say it's not gonna help me, I'm not saying that you can't make the most money in it. No, remember that I said, understand who you are, right? Understand what you want out of life. Understand the skill sets that you have or you could have, and then understand what your objective should be. Now, those people that are very successful in the things that I don't want to explore, it probably aligns with who they are and the gifts and talents that they have and the skill sets that they're willing to learn. It's not everything I'm willing to learn. At this stage in my life, no kind of money is going to make me go and learn coding. No kind of money will make me go do that, right? And that's me understanding who I am. But there's some people today, if they hear, oh my goodness, coding is going to give you 7 figures, they will jump right in and go learn that skill and probably earn the 7 figures. But no, I understand that there are different paths to this 7 figures. So if 7 figures are a goal, I'm going to go through the path that aligns with who I am, what I want to be, the skill sets I have, and the skill sets that I am willing to learn to help me get there, right? So now this whole part is you trying to figure out like, okay, now that I understand the skills that I have, now that I understand who I am, what kind of business can I start that will help me get there? And that's when you kind of have like your strategic objective where, you have that clear statement of, the kind of business you have and what you ultimately kind of need to do to be able to get there. Now, remember that for me, my overall goal is to help people, empower people to achieve success. And because I want to empower so many people across different parts of their lives, there are several things that I'm deliberately taking that I want to have lived that life so that it's much easier for me to be able to speak about it. Agile for one. I'm living the agile life. It's easier for me to coach people. Business, I'm living that life. I already have these businesses. I'm growing those businesses. I want to be able to teach people because it's a medium. And for me, I'm very big on financial empowerment because I know that when you're empowered financially, there's so many BS that will not be a part of your life. I'm very big on, domestic abuse and how that could be reduced in the world. And I know that one of the things that will solve domestic problem is money. Because when you want to speak to people to be able to, have self-worth and not be in that kind of situation, and you don't have the money to get them out of that situation, you are all talk, no action. So at the end of the day, I need to empower myself. There's so many dreams I have that like they need so much money for me to wake up and say, you know what? I want to build a house that anybody that has problems domestic wise and, can have a safe place to go to pending when they figure out what they want to do with their lives. You need money to do that. And that's the reason why many people will stay in broken homes and get beaten day after day because they don't have a way out. Even for the women, they will stay because of their kids. Because how will my kids feed? How will they go to school? This man is the one providing that source. So at the end of the day, let me just take all the mess for the sake of my kids. But if there was a way out, if there was an option, they would not have to be there. So I want to be that person who is empowered to provide those options for people. I want people to know that in life, there are options. So no matter the limitation that you have, there's a way out for you. I need people to understand that you are not stuck with the life that you're living that you do not want. There's an option. Even if it doesn't look clear, there is that option. And there are different ways that I could get to express that. But a big part of that requires money. And so I'm starting with, all of these businesses because if I'm able to teach people how to build business, how to grow their business, then that means that lady down the street in one village might learn from me or hear from me, maybe on YouTube or something. And then she's like, okay, these are the steps I can take. Okay, based on what I know or what I can learn, this is what I can do. And before you know it, that lady in that village starts earning money. And then one day she has enough to walk away from that bad situation that she has. That is how big I think. And that's how every little thing I'm doing stays aligned and stays connected. Right? So that is my strategic objective. And so for that reason, I'm going to pick things that are aligned. And so when, my colleague was like, I said my colleague, when my friend was like, oh, come sell insurance, in my head, when I thought about it, how does selling insurance help me achieve any of my strategic objectives? And I understand that obviously we all want to be rich, we want to be comfortable, but I feel like I've gotten to that stage in my life where I am comfortable. And so I'm not chasing only money in life. I'm chasing my goals because I know that there is no way I'll chase my goals that money would not follow. So I've gotten to that stage. Now, sometimes people might not be in that stage. There was a time in my life where, oh my goodness, all I thought about was money because I needed to have a nice house. I needed to be able to just afford the basics of life. So at that time, all I was thinking about was myself and how I needed to survive. But thank God, I've gotten to that stage where I'm comfortable enough to now start thinking about, okay, how do I help other people survive? How do I help other people live comfortable lives? How do I help other people achieve success? How do I help other people grow? And that's where my own strategic objective is. And I'm saying all of this so that you guys can also start thinking about that for yourself and aligning what you want out of life and looking at where you are in life and thinking of, okay, what can I do right now that is aligned to it? And I like Joe's example where he spoke about, even though, he has this goal, he sees how he can express it even in his place of work. Emmanuel also made a similar point. He likes counseling and is able to see, how to help people that maybe are having a hard time with their lives or that kind of stuff. Because that's the level he's on right now. By the time, let's say, he launches, because I know he probably has a book he's about to launch. By the time he launches that book, he will be exposed to a new set of people, a new set of world. And you find out that even in that new world, he will then be able to maybe help other readers to be able to achieve a better life, depending on what that specific is, or help other authors, right? So as you grow, you find out that you're able to express, your gift and your goal much better and much bigger. All right. So now moving on. Now let's assume that now we understand our strategic objective, right? We know what we want out of life. We know we've identified all our skill sets. We've identified, what we need to also learn, because obviously you're going to have to learn, more things, even if you have like the foundational skills and talents that you have. You've identified all of that. And then you've come up with like your strategic objective. And let's say you've kind of figured out, okay, based on my gifts and offerings, this is the first business that I am thinking of, right? Now, in order for you to decide that one, you want to consider the financial, the financial goals of that business, right? Because if you're doing something that's not bringing you money, trust me, you may get tired, especially if you're not financially, buoyant, if you're not at that level yet where money is no longer a problem. There is one thing that I would do at every point in my life that people would call me and I would do free of charge until maybe I just say, I don't want to do it for you, is speaking. You cannot call me today and say, Yinka, come and speak at my conference, come and speak at my workshop. A friend of mine reached out to me last week, said she's having a networking event next month. She'd like me to come speak. Those kind of things I would do free of charge. I would never think about the money to do it because I am in the opportunity, you're providing me the opportunity to express my gift, my calling, and I know that whatever I'm going to talk about at your gathering is going to impact people, whether it's one or two people, right? But I'm at that stage in my life where money is not such a big deal. But of course, and then depending on who is asking for it, but obviously, as maybe bigger people start coming my way and I look at what is your intent and you're making money off it, then you better pay me for that service, right? But we clearly, it's much easier when you've built yourself, to a financial level where you feel safe. And that's why it's important. And that's why I think I also love finance and I love personal finance, because that's why it's important that, we have that money that can guide us, that money that, gets us secured while we go and explore things. Because when you want to start business, you're going to need money. When you don't have money, enough money, when you've not gotten your life in order, how are you going to even start a business? Where are you going to get the money to even start from? Right? And that's why, I feel like all of us on the call, because many of us probably have jobs, or many of us obviously are in some career or the other, we are in that good step to start planning our lives together, right? Starting with your personal finance, getting that in order, making sure that you have emergency fund, making sure that you have at least 6 months worth of your expenses saved up somewhere, so that even when you want to start a business, even saving for investments, even without you knowing the investment you want to go into, whether it's 5%, whether it's 10%, you're able to save every month, just saving this up. By the time you start thinking and trying to find your feet and the perfect business that suits you, you're going to have the money to kind of kick off. So it's so important that we're improving ourselves at every point of at every point in our lives, and we're not just staying the same. We're being responsible for everything we have. Having a job is a privilege. Sometimes people don't see it that way, but it's a privilege because not everybody has a job in this life. So the fact that you have one, it's a privilege. You having a high-paying job is another level of privilege. Not everybody has a high-paying job. Then it now forces you, or it should force you to now be responsible about how you handle your money, because not everybody has this opportunity that you have, right? And you don't want to position yourself in such a way that if you're not wise, you now go back to that level of people who don't have, right? So that's why it's important. But let's move forward. So let's say that right now you understand, what you want to do. Then it's important for you to now start researching, like, okay, you know what? How does this industry work, right? So for me, after I left like the shuttle business and I now had a bigger understanding, one of the things that I realized that I also love and I love to learn more about and all of that was real estate. So, and I think I've come to a place in my life where I know that almost all of my investments would be tied to real estate in one way or the other, because I love it. I don't like the traditional investment of buying stocks. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but just for me, I feel like sometimes it's so complicated. I don't like things that I'm not very much in control of and all of that. So I still like to have that form of control. Everything has its own risk, but I just discovered real estate as a thing, and that was something I felt like I was going to pursue. And I knew that it was actually in line with my strategic objective because it was still going to get me. It was a vehicle that would get me to where I was. And eventually, it was also a vehicle that will not distract me when I am a full-time speaker, right? Because for me, even when I get to that place, the kind of career that I would have would not be a 9-to-5 job. It will be speaking engagements where I'm traveling to different parts of the country, to go speak, depending on what my focus of talk would be. So I knew that I also need businesses that is not going to be a replacement of a 9-to-5 job for me. I need businesses that could thrive without me, right? So that means I also needed to upskill myself in terms of how do I grow a business that does not need me. And that is like one of the books that I'm writing on, because I've successfully built, my businesses in Nigeria that way, because obviously I live in a different country and I'm able to run 3 businesses successfully there. And I'm writing a book on that I'm going to be releasing sometime this year. But that made me to start thinking about it. And then when I started to think about, okay, what other business can I start? And then I thought about real estate, did, my research on real estate. Okay, real estate is big and wide. What part of real estate do you want to start with? And then, I thought about, let me start with, short-term rentals, right? Because obviously also looking at the market research, there is, money in that industry. There's a lot of travelers across the world. People are traveling every day. People need a short place to stay. People need alternatives to, to the hotels. And obviously there was also Airbnb that already had that market and that model. So I was like, okay, looks like this is something that I could also have. Let me get a building that I could probably lease for a couple of years, furnish it and start selling, to travelers that want to travel. And even though when you look at the business in itself, sometimes if you don't understand, who I am and my strategic objective, you might not see the correlation. But for someone like me, I saw the correlation because I already saw that this was a business that if I set up correctly, it was hands-on. I'll never get to the stage where I'll be desperately looking for a driver and I have to go be driving myself. Because no, I never want to be in that kind of position again, right? I knew that for me to be able to execute that kind of business, there were so many people that were labor men that could do it. So even if one person failed, I had somebody almost right away that I could call on, right? That could replace the role or the task that I needed to be done. And so that's how I kicked that off. And then, grew that, learned from that, figured out what kind of market I wanted to do, what were the needs, what were the gaps, location, who was I targeting, what was the competition that I had. And all of that kind of guided me into launching, that first business. And it kicked off, really well, right? And so that's how, because obviously I've also learned the ad way, life now looked a bit easy, but obviously everything can still be difficult, but it was much easier than my first experience where it was after I started the business that I did a deeper market research. I was like, oh, shoot, I shouldn't have done this, right? But obviously you not get to that stage. And then once you're able to do, your research and you feel like, okay, this skill set that I have based on the market, things are aligning. It feels like, my goals are still in check. My strategic objective is still in check. And everything kind of like checks off the list. Then you now go into ideation and development, right? So you want to list out all the business ideas that you have. And you can do that to the multiple skill sets that you have, right? Because I always do like, okay, I have this skill set. Okay, can I start teaching this? Okay, I have this skill set. Or I know about this. Can I do that? And that's why I kind of asked about our experience, because sometimes you might have even worked in an environment that could give you an idea that, okay, why don't I do this? So many of my friends that are nurses, right? I see so many of them kicking off like their own private practice. One of my friends was even telling me I wanted to do this remote like consultation, and she wanted to focus on undocumented individuals, right? That was her own target. And obviously, had few coaching sessions with me to be able to kind of direct her in terms of how she should set up. But look at how our work, a career that she has aligns with what she wants to start doing personally, and how she identified the target audience of undocumented individuals are some of the people that they don't really have access to healthcare or good healthcare, because one, they don't want to go to the clinics. They feel like if they go there, that is an opportunity for them to get exposed. Once they're exposed, the government comes, and before you know it, they're deported or they're on the way to being deported. So they avoid going to seek, help when it comes to healthcare, because they feel like that would expose them. And she felt like regardless of your status in the country, you should still be able to have access to take care of your health, right? And that's where she was to focus on. I don't know the experience that I've had that made her go into there, but that's valid, that she wants to do. And so now she's got to that stage where she's listing out all of the skill set that she has and trying to align them with, okay, what business can I do with this skill set? What business can I do with maybe an experience I've had in the past? Where are the market needs for this experience and this skill set? Because even if you have a skill, like I said, your financial goals should align with that skill set. There also needs to be a market for it. I've seen so many people that have hobbies that they have gone to kind of like focus on, and they're financially frustrated because they did not tie it all together. Your hobbies, your goals, whether financial goal, and if finance does not matter to you, you don't mind being broke and still make impact, then that's success to you, because that's what you want, right? But you want to make sure that your financial goals, your skill set, your talent, or your passion, they need to align with the market need, because anything the market does not need, they're not going to automatically need this just because you created it. That's not how it works. Every business that you're thinking about has to solve a problem. So you have to figure out, like, what problem do I want to solve? Even from the first business where I made a mistake, realize how I still focused on the problem. There is a problem of transportation in this community, which is still valid, which I feel like somebody else could go start that business and still be successful at it. That business could not just bring me the kind of money I wanted, at the stress that it was giving me, so it was not worth it for me based on what I wanted out of life, right? But there's got to be a market need. So you always have to start from, what problem do I have the skill set to solve? When you answer that question that way, you will find, based on your ideas, and be like, oh, this is a problem that I see. And that could be even through the research you're going to do, through like conversations you're going to have with people, and then, okay, this skill set, let me go solve that problem. And this problem aligns with my financial goals. It aligns with my overall purpose in my life. So yes, I can prioritize solving this fast. Now, sometimes you might even have multiple business ideas, multiple skill sets, and that's where the place of priority comes into place. And thank God you guys are, in the agile space where you guys know how to prioritize what. You guys know how to do all of those things, because it's also important. Like now, I said I have 5 businesses. I didn't start all of them at once. I prioritized which one was feasible for me at that point in time in my life. And then I went ahead to do it. And then I've gone up and up and up from there. The latest business that I started that in December of last year. So that business is basically like 4 months. But the amount of success that business has made is competing with the 2 businesses that I started. One I started 3 years ago. The other one I started 6 years ago, right? It's competing like when in terms of revenue with those. But that's because I've gotten much smarter, and then I've also improved in my life. And so my decisions are much smoother. They are more thoughtful. And now, right now, it's like I'm eating the nail on the head. I'm like, okay, now you have more chances of giving me exactly what I want and where I want to be. Woo! And it's coming back to the extent that I'm like, should I kill one of this business? And like I said, all of my business, even though they're different, besides the one in the United States, or one in the United States still related, all of my business, even though they're slightly different, real estate is still at the end of it. It's still like at the bottom, or kind of slightly related to in one way or the other. And then one is, solely an online business and all. So, but the more you also get experience, I'm also building that expertise over time. So it's making me make better decisions, right? But just coming back to where we are. So once you identify all of your business ideas, aligning them with your skill sets, aligning them with a market need, and then with your financial goals, excuse me, you could also decide to prioritize which one you want to do first, right? So don't limit yourself. Write everything down. Like I have so many books. Like, let me just give you guys an example. Like these books, like all those books on my table, they are books of ideas. I keep writing and writing, and this is just, I didn't even add, the rest of them. And then I'm reading a book right now. Their book, I'm always writing. I feel like I've gotten to the stage where I always think through the lens of opportunities. So when I say a problem, I'm like, okay, is this a problem you can solve? Do you have the skill set for it? Does this problem align with your financial goals in life? Does it align with your overall objective in life? Yes. Okay, I'm going to write it down. Is it a problem I can solve right now? Maybe not. Okay, let's put it in the list. Maybe we'll come back to it. For example, the latest business that I have, in order for me to kick off that business, I need to buy a property that cost me $200 million. That's $1 million, million naira. I could not have started that business 5 years ago, even if I had that dream, because I didn't have the financial ability to do that. But, fast forward, I'm able to cough out that kind of money and say, you know what, this is the business I'm starting because I have the money to do that. And then, let's go for it. And that's why it's important that, you table out all those ideas, and then based on, your financial ability at that point in time, you can decide, okay, this is what I can start. This is where I can start from. And I feel like even the way the world is going, there are so many businesses that we could actually have based on the skill sets that we have today that don't even need that type of investment. It's just because at the foundation of many of my business, I love real estate. So I know that if all else fails, I still have a real estate in my name, right? So that always kind of gives me the opportunity to just tie my money down somewhere. So that's why I have a mixture of different types of businesses. But for someone like you who may not have started, your business might be a business that you could actually even do online. That might not even require a physical location, might not require any of those things. And even if you have dreams that might require that, you might push them to the future, maybe when this business does a lot, and then maybe the returns from that money, you can then start investing into another business that will give you, or that has that, physical location that would require that kind of tie down. All right. So when you get to that ideation and development stage, then you want to evaluate all of your ideas, consider the factors, obviously, like your startup cost, your potential revenue. It's important. These are things I feel like people overlook. People just want to start a business because they feel like, oh, there's money in it. There's money in it. Is there money in it for you? Because there are different levels of operations. Today, we have a zillion phone companies, but who are the leaders in the industry? The Apples, the Samsungs, a few others. But at the end of the day, even if an industry makes money, you still have to consider yourself in every situation. And it doesn't mean that the fact that you don't know anything about an industry doesn't mean that you cannot be a key player in that industry. As long as it aligns with you, it's easier for you to keep learning. It's easier. This latest business that I have, I didn't have a clue about it. It's content spaces. So I just provide spaces for people to create content. That's what it is. And I was able to bring my skill set of interior design. I love to design. I designed that place by myself. I just got people to help me execute it. Right? So that's one of my skills I brought into play. Obviously, I had the financial capabilities to be able to buy a property, to be able to do that. Even if I did not, I feel like I could have still gone through the option of leasing a property, even if I didn't want to buy. But because I had the money to do that, so why have that money in the bank when you can also tie it back to real estate, right? So you're able to think of that. I thought about the revenue available for that business, and that's what I set as a goal. What is the highest amount of money that, as of today, that I can see based on my limitation, that I think this business can bring? And even though I launched the business in December, today we're in May right now, there are other ways that I didn't even see in December that I now see today that can bring me more money still in that industry and still in that business, right? So don't think that even if you have an idea that requires money, you have to launch it big. There are different ways that you can actually launch it. And before you know, you can then grow and then, accomplish where you are. The same way our goal is, right? I have this grand goal, but look at how I've, expressed it in small fractions. Imagine if I was waiting for the day I'll eat it big and be able to do all of those things. That day may never come. But once you start, you build the momentum and the capacity, and then you keep growing, right? So you want to evaluate that idea, think about the cost, the potential revenue, what are the barriers of entering that kind of business, and your own willingness to pursue that idea. And your will would only come from your passion and your strategic objective leading back to who you are. Those things play a big factor. These were the things that made my first business fail, because I didn't consider all of these things. And so by the time I was faced with all of these things, I was like, nah, it's not even worth it. And, I just let it go. And I'm glad I still let it go, because it still kind of kickstarted the process for other growth and experience that I have today. And that's why it's important that we don't let failure define us. The fact that we failed in one area has nothing to do with our overall success in life. It has absolutely nothing. Many times it might actually even be the opportunity that you need to be able to expand and even grow. And sometimes you might want to share those ideas with friends, mentors, and people that you feel like you want to sell that idea to. Those people might also give you feedback in terms of what you're selling, right? Or what you're trying to sell, to be able to know, oh, would I buy this? Okay, what's the price point I'll buy this at? And that kind of stuff. I was coaching one business owner who owns a fashion business. And we're talking about the other day because she was pretty frustrated in her business. And I asked her this question. I told her, what is your financial goal? Like, where do you see this business taking you to? Do you think this business can even pay your bills? Because, she was frustrated, like financially and stuff like that. And she's like, yeah, she sees it that it can, but she doesn't know how and all that kind of stuff. So I gave her an idea. I said, this year, how much do you want to make this year? Forget that you have this business. Just you, the way you are. How much you want to make this year? She gave me an amount. So let's assume you want to make $1 million this year. How many outfits do you need to sell in order to be able to make it? And she's like, oh, okay. I need to sell so many outfits. She started screaming. I said, okay. How much is your outfit today? She told me the price. Based on the amount that your outfit is today, do you think you can accomplish this $1 million goal? No, I don't think so. Okay, what needs to be done in order for you to be able to sell enough outfit to be able to get to that goal? I need to increase the price of my outfit. Do you think that the current outfits that you sell can command the new amount of price? No. Do you have the skill set to be able to create the outfit that can command that price? Yes. Why are you not making those kind of outfits? And it was like a light bulb opened. She never thought about business that way. She did what was comfortable, selling basic outfits for basic money, but yet you are frustrated. You can't even afford to buy yourself a travel ticket because everything is expensive. Everything's expensive, and then you're frustrated, fighting the government. But I was like, what can you do about inflation? Nothing. What can you do about your personal finance? Everything. Everything. So why don't you focus on things you can control rather than make a mess about life, nag about how unfair life has been to you, and you're still where you are. And that's when she understood, okay, since I need to sell at this price point to get to where I am, then I need to upskill myself to be able to command that price. And that's what she's on her way to doing right now. And she's making a first batch and trying to tease the market with it to see how the market likes it and what she's going to learn about it. And now she knows. She knows that I've got to sell. This is the entry-level price I've got to sell to be able to have the chance I get to that financial goal. Now, imagine if she had met me earlier before she kicked off her goal, she would have saved herself all of this stress because she was already like 3 years in business when she met with me for a coaching session. You know, and she never thought about business this way because she never even thought about our financial goal. We didn't even talk about who you are and all that kind of stuff because depending, you already run your business. At the end of the day, let's make your business work out, right? Because there are different faces to it. So we didn't even go there. But I mean, we still kind of touched it. You know, I touched it from a financial perspective. You know, what do you want to achieve this year financially? Because that's where the frustration came for her, right? So that's how you kind of like develop that idea. And then you're able to kind of finalize, right, you know, what you want to do. Then a key part you want to really concentrate on is your business model. You want to determine how you're going to make this money. You know, what are the revenue streams you have? And that's what I kind of had with her. What's your pricing strategy? What's your sales channel? You know, what's the initial investment that is going to be required for this type of business? What's the ongoing operational cost? Those are things that many times we don't pay attention to. We're so excited about the business that we want that sometimes we forget that business is still business at the end of the day. There's no emotional attachment that you need to have to a business. There's a property that I'm trying to buy in New York. And so my agent who's advising me was telling me that why don't I sell this other property that I have in Texas? Because New York is a much expensive market than Texas. So I told her, why should I sell the property? She's like, oh, so that you can come up with the money for New York. I was like, no, I'm not stranded with New York money. And then 2, even though one market is better than the other, as long as this market does not give me any type of stress, why should I sell it for the sake of selling it? And I didn't want to argue with that because I felt like we had different mindsets. And I was like, you know what? You didn't employ my coaching services. I'm not giving you free advice. But anyway, I'm not following your own advice of selling. Because I explained to her, all I invested into this property was $20,000. That's all I invested. My closing cost, that's all I invested. That property is worth over $200,000 as of today. I bought that property, I think 9 years ago. It's a rental property. I've had tenants in it every year, besides last year that I took it out to kind of renovate it and kind of upscale it. And I was like, fine, I understand that I complained to you at the cost of renovating, By the end of the day, besides the renovation cost that I put to it, I already have $180,000 on top of this property that is a profit to me by the time I sell it. And eventually, if I want to sell it, that cost that I use in renovating, I'm going to add it on top of it. So even if the market says the house is what, 200, I'm going to sell it 260 because I spent 60,000 renovating the entire place, like change the roofs, change everything. Like I basically did all of that. So I get it that I spent a lot of money on it, but I was like, I know how to get it back. So why do I have to save it? And then even in this country, you sell something. If you're not buying another property almost immediately, you're going to pay taxes on this. I was like, why would I go sell what I don't need and all that? But anyway, I left. I was like, you know what? We're not in that same financial mindset yet. So I understand where you're coming from and I know what I'm going to do. Right. But those are things you want to think about when it comes to like, your costs. What are the ongoing operational costs you're going to need? Some businesses are expensive. They are high maintenance. This new business that I started is high maintenance. Almost every month I have to paint the property. Almost every month because it's aesthetics. I'm selling space. So that means at every point in time, it's got to be on point. So any stain, you got to fix it. Any dirt, you got to take care of it. Like, so it's so high maintenance. But at the end of the day, I still like the business because it brings the kind of money that I need. And it's still kind of on the path to getting me to where I want to operate. Another 2 years from now, I may have started another business that might make this business irrelevant. Like I said, the more you grow, the more wealth of knowledge you have, the better decisions you make. And you might start consolidating some of those previous businesses that you have and think of, doing other things that are necessary. But it's important that you understand your business model, how you want to make money. For many of us on this call today, we have, full-time jobs. So it's important that you're also building a business that allows you to still have that full-time job. Because what I have done all my life is to have my full-time job be my, how will I call it? My full-time salary is always like my startup cost for my business. That's what I do, right? So they provide me that capital that I need. And that's why I've always kept my job. And it's until when I feel like my job starts obstructing my strategic objective, that's when I'm going to let go of it. But as long as it doesn't, I'm going to stay there. I'm going to make that money and keep making it because I need it to fund all of these business ideas that I have. Otherwise, I'll have had to go to the bank. And it's more stressful when you kick off a business on a loan or borrowed money. It's stressful. Like there's an added stress you put on top of yourself just knowing that, oh my God, I'll start making money back on the first day because I have interest I have to pay on this loan and all that kind of stuff, right? So that's why it's very important that, we get our finances in order and we kind of think of what is it going to cost me to run this business, right? We're almost done and we're kind of opening it to, a business. And then, once you kind of like have done all of those steps and then you know that, okay, this is right, I have the financial capability to kind of kick off based on all the things we said, then that's when you actually choose the best fits. Because remember, we've kind of expressed so many ideas and you're going to repeat the step for all of those ideas that you have that align with the gifts and talents that you have. And then based on, the previous step that I discussed here, you will now decide and be like, you know what? This is the best fit. This is the right business for me. Right now, this business aligns with my goals, it aligns with my interest, and it has a marketing potential. And that's when you start like developing your business plan and start outlining your business strategy, what your marketing plan will be, operations and whatnot. And that's really, the process that I have used to be able to continuously find the perfect business that kind of fits my overall objective. And, it's business 5. And I've been able to experience, different levels of growth in that business, all while still keeping an additional job, which means like I have 6 streams of income, right? And that job, that 9 to 5 has always been, my startup capital for many of the businesses I want to start. I mean, sometimes I have to save like a whole year. This last business, 200 million is a lot of money. And obviously we had to save, myself and my husband had to save to be able to come up with that money to be able to put on that property and say, you know what, let's go do it. And I believe that kind of brings me to the end of, our conversation. And then finally, you want to test your idea. You want to start small. with a pilot program to test your services. I've done that for, every of my business, the short-term rental business. I started with one property, tested the idea, it worked out, and then I moved on, and now I have 8 of those properties that provide short-term services. The second business is, a website, so that's actually even different. So that was, providing an opportunity for hosts like me that have short-term rental properties to be able to, advertise their services to the broader market, which I'm sure many of you must have seen in some of those examples we've had, which is shortrentals.com. And then I have this other one that is called Content House. So I tested those ideas, but even for the Content House, I tested the idea, but I knew that backup, if the idea did not work, guess what? I'm going to convert it into my short-term rental business because it's real estate. So I have that property and I can decide what I want to do with it. But, testing the idea of Content House, having a content space worked. And I'm like, okay, I'm going with it. And right now, that business and stuff, I'm really thinking of how to expand it and how to grow, but always start small. Even if you feel like this business has big potential, in the market, test this small because you would always make mistakes in that business. Even this very last business I started, we were very strict. And we were very strict because I kept forgetting that I live in a different country that has a different culture, right? In the United States, most of the time we keep to time. In Nigeria, half of the time, they do not keep to time. So they'll buy an appointment for 5 o'clock. They're working at 7 o'clock. You tell them their time is over. They're ready to fight you. Like, how can you say that? My time can't be over. So we had to get flexible and understand how that market works, even though I live here, be able to kind of wear the hat of those people there. What are the constraints they have? Traffic is unbelievable in that country. And so we adjusted. So, I've had a few customers who feel like our business is horrible. And those were the ones that kind of experienced us when we were very strict with our policies. But the ones that have come today, I've come to love it because we're very flexible and we found flexible ways to make more money by providing that convenience. And, it's working well. So it's always important that you test whatever idea that you decide to come up with, to be able to make those mistakes, learn from those mistakes, and then, expand and keep growing. And I feel like that kind of brings us to, the end of this conversation. So does anybody have any question, based on what you've learned today, how you intend to use that to be able to help whatever idea you think you might have? And for those of you that maybe already have an idea, hovering around your head, what are those things that you think from what you've learned today, you can put it into work to ensure that you're building, that right business that fits all of the things we've discussed. All right, who wants to go first? Hello, anybody on the call still? Hello, can anybody hear me? Or have I just been speaking and you guys could not hear me?
Coach, we can hear you. Someone's got their hands up pretty, but I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know if that was by mistake. All right, I'll just be sure you guys get me. I was like, I've been ranting all.
Yeah, we had everything loud and clear. Really.
Okay.
Yeah, everything. I've been I immersed myself in listening to everything. I was just been engrossed, and I've been saying like, wow. So it was really insightful. I learned a lot. So there's a business on the side I'm currently, working on. I think this is really going to help me to, fleshing it out and give it structure. Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. Give it structure. Yeah. So it's really a very good session. Thank you so very much for sharing your story. Most importantly,
you're welcome.
And it's like a shortcut already now for us. I believe so. Yeah, things to do and things not to do.
Yes, it is. I summarized all my failures and success in 2 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you so very much, Coach.
You're welcome.
Yeah. But then I'm really looking forward to a session with you, like I did mention, Coach, earlier on.
No problem. I think since you're in a different time zone, weekend might be the best where we're not constrained by work and things like that. So
okay.
I can definitely, we can definitely look for a weekend that would work sometime in the morning. So it's afternoon for you. And then we could,
Okay.
figure that out.
All right. Okay. Okay, that's fine. All right. Thanks, Coach.
You're
For sure.
welcome. Does anybody
Yeah.
on the call have any questions whatsoever? I know, many of us are like in that agile and scrum mindset, but I want you guys to know that you are not your job. You're not limited to your path. I know that eventually, maybe sometime probably next year, I might retire from the 9 to 5 world. I don't know yet. But based on the plans that I have, and I want you guys to understand that everything in life, are pockets of your overall goal. And that's one of the things that I want you guys to take out of here. And that's why you're going to go through different careers, different things happen to you. And at the end of the day, the only one thing that is constant is you, your spirit, your mind, and your body. That one you will go through and experience different things. And that's why those experiences necessarily don't have to define us if they're not the best of experiences we had. And even when we have good experiences, they still don't have to define us because we've got to move and just be bigger people. Imagine if I said, oh, because I failed in my first business, I should never do a business again. Imagine if I started my career as a customer service person and said, you know what? This is the job I got. This is the kind of job I should always stay. So don't be afraid to expand yourself. Don't be afraid to test yourself. I believe that every one of us has capacity that we can't even comprehend. And I know myself that even when I feel like I'm operating at my optimal level, when I look back, I'm like, oh, last year I thought that was my optimal level. And this year, look at where I am. So it just shows that as long as we keep moving and keep going, we will keep uncovering different things about ourselves and better ways for us to achieve our goal. But one thing I like to leave us all here with, which is even more important than starting a business, is just discovering who you are as a person, who you want to become as a person. And I want you to know that your past does not define who you need to be. Your past experiences do not define who you need to be. Where you were born, the family you were born to, does not have anything to do with who you choose to be. Who you choose to be is who God has called you to be. I see life as a life of puzzle, right? So imagine you have a puzzle, and every one of us, there's a perfect fit for us. And our whole life goal is to uncover where we fit in that puzzle, because that will be, once we fit, everything else will just be much faster, much better. Life is not without struggles, but you find out that you're able to express yourself much better because now you fit. Imagine if you're trying to play a puzzle and you're trying to pick a piece and put it in a place that doesn't fit. It's going to struggle, it's going to scratch, it's going to spoil, it's going to feel discomfort. But when you find that perfect place that you're supposed to fit, so the world, it's a puzzle, and you go around in the world trying to find that place. And that's why I feel like we should spend a bigger part of our lives trying to discover, where do I fit in this world? Where is that puzzle piece that I'm supposed to be attached to and function in the fullness of that? And that's where we get fulfillment from. And
Coach, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, it's in the chat, maybe, but I can still read it.
Let me see.
Then again,
Still wondering why you didn't act till today. Oh, I think I answered that question already. My mic is connecting, sorry. Okay. Then Coach, what other sectors can we thrive in different from what you mentioned, like ministry? When you say ministry, like ministry, like preaching, like what you call ministry?
yes, exactly. Like in the ministry of, yeah, like you're a singer. You, like, for instance, I took myself. I'm a singer. I'm writing children's books. There's a different kind. I feel like there's a different. Everything you mentioned is very profound, but like, how do you apply those skills to stuff in that line, especially when you know you want to try this thing, but they're not estimatable because it's they're no, I don't know. I've never done I've never ventured into what I'm trying to do right now, so I don't know. I feel like there's no information for me to be able to plan or anticipate or make the right decisions because I'm literally going in blind. If you know what I mean.
So, for example, let's pick the children's book that you're trying to write, right? So, I'm going to assume that there's a piece of your goal that you're trying to express by writing a children's book, right? At the end of the day, I want to put my own goal and try to fit it into your goal. Let's assume that I needed to write children's book to express one of my goals, right? Which is similar to how I feel like my own goals is really focused on a lot of like adults and stuff like that. For me, my goal will then be, what do I need to do to make my book a bestseller? Because the content of my book is going to transform the lives of kids across the world, just based on the type of goal that I have and how big I try to expand my goal, right? So as long as I've aligned that the children's book I'm writing fits into my overall purpose, then I'm looking for ways to make it big. Now, you then come to the book industry, which takes us back to market research, right? Here. So these steps are the overall bucket of steps that you need. But here now, I'm focused on my goal within this context is no longer just writing a book for the sake of writing a book. How do I make my book a bestseller? What are the criteria for making a book a bestseller? What are the things I need to do? Right? And now, it might not even be my first book that will become a bestseller, even though that's the goal that I have. Right? I might make my mistakes on my first book, and in my second book, I learn and get better. But you need to have that mindset up front. And then market research helps you understand, how does the book industry work? How do you get started? What are the needs? What are the gaps? If you've noticed that there's a need in children's book, where are the platforms I need to be on to be able to express that and people are aware that this exceeds, I mean, that this exists and this is a need? And then what are the people that are already doing something similar to what I'm trying to do? Who am I trying to target? Where are they located? Where can I find them? Many of the times, you're going to have to target the mothers to get to these people because these are children. Children don't have direct access to things, right? Just like how my kids, they watch YouTube, and even if you don't even target them, they watch YouTube. There's a lot of ads that are targeted to children on YouTube. Then when I go to Walmart, my daughter will tell me, I saw this on YouTube, come and buy it for me. That company is targeting those kids because they know that those kids know how to nag their parents into buying them something. So that's where your own market research is, after which you've discovered all of those things, you understand your goal, you understand all of that stuff. And then now we're in the crux of, you kind of understand that, okay, writing a children's book is actually one of the ways that will get me to be able to reach people. If I bring it back to my goal, I have a much bigger goal for why I started business coaching. Because I started business coaching this year. I'm launching a course next month, and then I'm writing a book already that I'm going to launch this year. Right? I have a bigger goal why I'm doing business coaching and writing a book. Now, to everybody who doesn't know me, they're just like, oh yeah, this is one of the skill sets that she's expressing. But I shared a part of it, how I have a big thing for domestic abuse. I've never experienced it before in my life. I know that a few people I've spoken to them before, and they've asked me about it. It's like, oh, you need to do things from what you express and that kind of stuff. And I'm like, you don't have to go through things to dislike something so much. I hate when people are powerless. It icks me. Like, I feel like as human beings, we need to build ourselves in such a way that we are powerful and we're able to do anything, where another human being that has the same legs and hands that you have doesn't have to limit you. The only person that should limit you from doing something should be God, who created you, but not your fellow human being. So I feel like, power is what gives you the ability to do whatever it is you want to do. So, like, when I hear stories of how a woman died in her marriage, she was beaten, or all those kind of crazy things, I feel like you don't even have to experience if you just had a job, if you just had a life, if you just had sense. And common sense sometimes is not very common. And so for me, I see a lot of people that have businesses that they're struggling. And I'm like, okay, I can imagine if one of them is also somebody who is a domestic violence victim. How can I improve the chances of this person building a successful business that empowers her to be able to achieve our goals and walk away from situations that she doesn't want to be on? So there are things that drive me that are aligned to my goal. Now, remember that my goal is to be able to empower people to be able to achieve their goals and achieve their dreams and live the best life that they can be. And I want to express that through speaking, because I feel like speaking allows you to get across to multiple people across the world, right? And that's why YouTube remains my friend, even though we are enemies. Like YouTube, the algorithm is not working, but I feel like that's the easiest way that I can talk to somebody in Indonesia without me ever being there. Right? So you see how I'm able to connect my overall goal to a present thing I want to do. And then once you do that, you then not have to still do the regular work of building a business and doing the key work. So right now, for your own question, market research is where you then have to figure out quite a number of things. And sometimes this might take you time. But for you to do things right, never be in a hurry, never rush, right? Do things, do your market, do it well, at least have a basic understanding. For me, like at least I have basic understanding of all the things I want to do and the potential of that business before I step into it. And like I said, I have the mindset of going into the industry to be a key player. I don't like to play small. I don't think that the gift and talents that God has given me is to play small. I feel like I have those gifts to be able to play big because there's a vast number of target audience that has been assigned to my gift or my calling. That's me as a person. So, because every time I express it, I feel like there's still more for you to do. There's still more for you to do. And I've noticed that when I have so much energy in me, it actually weakens me out. Like I feel frustrated. I feel like I'm too full and I just need to give it out. And that's why I would always speak. I would always teach, because that's a way for me to express the gift that I have and I'm not keeping it all to myself. Hope that helps.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Coach, I also have a question. Thank you so much for sharing this information. My question is, you mentioned that you saved up, your husband and yourself saved up to start some of the businesses that you have. So I want to know what your opinion is on using, on social media, you always see using other people's money, taking credit, business credit cards, loans, all those type of things. And I just want to know your opinion on that approach.
Yeah, so there's nothing wrong. There are quite a number. So this last business, we're just fortunate. Like there's some businesses that we've had that even this 200 million, I feel like I still expended one of my business credits in a slightly different way. In a slightly different way. I feel like I spent it on something else and got cash off that thing to be able to use. So, but when it comes to loans and stuff like that, the only thing I'll say is that you need to just play smart, right? And make sure that on paper, you have a clear way of making it work. Because reality is different than paper. But what cannot work on paper would not work in real life. Because even when it works in paper, life will still play its own game and it might not still work. But at least you know that you tried to be able to put the pieces together. So going back to your question, there might be some investments that you want to start that you don't have the money for it. And maybe you have credit cards. For example, right now, if I combine all my credit cards together, I can pull up $200,000. So imagine if I want to start a business today and maybe I'm desperate, but that business must be able to give me like guaranteed returns for me to do that, because my credit cards are almost, I think the cheapest credit card I have is probably at 20% interest. So obviously I will not go through that route, but I also have a line of credits that I'm not even using that I have 50K in it just for in case of. So I have those loose money that I feel like I have as backup after the main backup, which is my job. My job is my first source of capital. And then if that cannot fund it, then I'll be like, okay, what's the next line that I can go? And then for me, most of my businesses, besides like my coaching, so like any business that has to do with me speaking, teaching, and all of that are solely mine because that's my talent and my gift. But many of the other businesses that like are property related or structure related is myself and my husband. So it also makes it easier for us to come together and also start. And that's why I said that even if, let's say, you wanted to do something that required a property, you might not necessarily have the capacity to be able to buy ones, but you may be able to lease, right? For me, because now it's two people working, that means 200,000, 200 million meant that we had to bring 100 million each. So it wasn't just me that had to bring 200 million. It was two people that came together, which meant it was much easier for us to achieve, our goal in that manner. I hope that helps.
Yes, thank you so much. And then my second question is, so when you were starting everything, working, having a family, doing business, how did you manage, or even how do you manage now with time and with just everything you have going on?
So life is all about priorities, and you would only focus your attention on things that you care about. And I feel like that's why it still goes back to who you are and knowing who you are. Because when you know who you are, it helps you to say no to a lot of things that would not help you get to where you need to be. So I'm so used to saying no. I say no to almost everything first before I think about saying yes. So I'm on like a default no to so many things. I'm on a default note to going out a lot because I value my time. And I know that obviously different things mean different things to people. So you have to still consider who you are. I'm not a friend person. So I don't spend so much of my time trying to hang out with friends and, give back to friends. So I save my time that way to be able to, and, some people live better lives hanging around people, but then maybe you can save in another area. Because I don't have lots of friends, I'm able to save in that area. I don't necessarily get so many invites I have to do compared to my husband, who has to travel a lot. My friend is doing this, my friend is doing that. Me, nah, I don't have so much for me to even spend that time on. Another area, because I didn't have a lot of friends that I noticed I was spending time on, was watching TV and movies and all of that. So I had to deliberately cut off that from my life because I knew that I needed to get work done. And every time I actually even watch TV, I saw it as inspirational. I used to admire their lives. I'm like, oh God, this girl is living her dream. You can't stop watching that TV so that you can go work on your dream. So I was deliberate in terms of how I was spending my time. As at today, like I said, I'm writing a course, a business course, and I'm writing a book. I'm using an app right now. That's how bad it is to account for how I'm spending my time. So when I start writing my book, I'll click on start and it starts recording how long I'm spending. When I take a call, I'll pause that app because I want to be able to count, did you actually spend 2 hours writing today? Not that, did you stay in your office for 2 hours? Because so many things could have happened in between that 2 hours, right? You imagine like how I'm on this call, I dedicated 2 hours to this call. In between this call, my phone is right beside me. I have missed like 4 calls. So imagine if I was writing, that's 4 calls that could have been 10 minutes long, 20 minutes long, I don't know. So like, I'm very deliberate with my time. And as I grow up, I'm getting even more selfish with my time because I know that time is one thing that is free to us all, but it's also one thing that we waste the most because it's free. Many times we don't know how to make use of things that are free to us until it starts to cost us. So I'm able to kind of see how huge time is, and I'm just trying to make the best use of it. So I don't watch TV as much. I don't go out as much. I don't have a lot of friends. It might not work, for other people, but those are the things. So I'm only left to now my family that I can't do without. And then as my kids have also grown older, I've also forced them to be independent because I need it. I need to have my own time. So I don't babysit them so much where, I've let them, this is what you need to do, this is how you need to do it. And then that has also forced them to be able to do things on their own. And then obviously, I have a husband that we also have to spend time together. So I've prioritized what I need, and that's what I spend most of my day on. My family, work, and business. And then obviously I have a few circle of friends that if it's important that I need to be somewhere, then, you know, I'll take it at that time as like fun time. Like I went for my friend's 40th birthday in Mexico, which I'd not done in a long time, but I just felt like, hey, I needed that vacation. And so I took that trip, you know, so that's how I kind of manage my time. But overall, it's just me being very intentional with my time. And every day I wake up with the same question. What is the one thing you can do today that will move you closer to your dream? And I try to figure out what that one thing is. And if I'm able to do that one thing today, I'm happy. Even if maybe other things that I feel like I should have also done, I didn't get to it quite well, you know? So that's the question I always have for myself every day. What's that one thing you want to do that will just help you, you know, achieve your goal? And even though, you know, you might have that big goals, remember that it will also be broken down into several parts. And as long as you fulfill one part of it, then you're in the right direction. It's you not doing anything about your goal and just waking up and just reacting to what life brings to you is where we miss it. Because we're not supposed to be reacting to things. We're meant to be intentional about the things that we have to do. And that's how I've been able to manage my time. And also, I'd like to let you guys know that, which I think I've said in the call, that life is in phases and stages, right? So you have to also recognize what phase you're in right now and what you can do about the phase you're in. When I was pregnant with my kids, the first one, what do you call it, that which was 2016, was my first baby, and that was that first business that I had. I had so much energy, so I was able to do it, you know. In between, I feel like there was just something about my mental health and all of that that was kind of a bit of out of place. And I feel like I shut down many things to just focus on what was the most important thing I could do part time. So in the midst of all of these things we're trying to achieve in life, don't lose yourself. Remember, you know, what's important to you. And if you have to take a break, right? Even if everybody around you looks like they're racing and making life for themselves, you know, if you're in the phase where you're not quite right, don't force it. Don't push, you know, just because your neighbor is pushing. Push yourself because you need to push yourself. Push yourself because you need to achieve your goals and you have a dream you want to face, you know, and put into consideration the things that matter to you. But always remember that your pace is yours, and your body will tell you whether you're slow, or your mind will tell you whether you're slow, whether you're on track, or whether you're ahead. The market doesn't necessarily have to tell you. Your friends, them being successful, doesn't necessarily have to tell you. Your spirit will tell that to you, you know, as long as you're sensitive to that and you are like always putting your goals in your forefront. You know, just quickly to share an example, I know that when this year started, for some reason, I want to move away from teaching Agile. I feel like I'm going beyond that phase. And when I say move away, I already have my community that's not going away, right? I'm still going to keep that for as long as I want to. But like in terms of creating more content, so that's why, you know, my YouTube sometimes I'm on and off. I'm not so excited about talking about Agile as I used to be in the past. And I feel like maybe because, you know, all the business that I have are taking more parts of me on a day-to-day basis. Running 5 businesses can be, okay, so even though I have 5, 3 of it gives me the most headache because the other one here is rental. So it's easy, like you just have a tenant, you're good to go, or you're looking for new properties, like it's easy. So 3, and then out of the 3, let's say maybe 2 kind of gives me headache. Not really headache, but kind of needs me to kind of think, push it and all of that. So I have to kind of battle with all of that on a day-to-day basis. So they take most of my thinking, not as much as Agile. I feel like Agile is like automated for me. I will wake up, I already know what I need to do. And I feel like I'm at that stage where I'm even bored. I don't see any new challenge and all that kind of stuff. So earlier this year, I was not motivated to create any new videos. So I only came back to YouTube, I think in March of this year. I'm like, you know what? I still like to speak. So let me go and talk about something I know how to talk about, right? But earlier this year, I wasn't just in the mood for it. And I didn't stress myself about it. People around me were making videos every day because I was always on YouTube. I spent most of my time on YouTube on a day-to-day basis. And people are there, and I didn't feel the need to be pressured. that people were making videos and I wasn't. Because then I was trying to really understand where's the new level I want to be this year? What are my new interests I really want to focus on? And, business has always been a thing for me that I've been looking for how to express it and help other people that want to start their business or help people build their business, and personal finance. And I was just struggling how to get started with that, and then even on my Agile channel, I started talking about personal finance because I felt like, okay, working class people, Scrum Masters can still learn about finance. But I was like, I'm going to take my business to a different channel because I feel like it's a different audience entirely. They might not be interested in things like that. But for like 2 months, I didn't do anything about it. And life was still going for me. So what am I trying to say to you? We all have a life, but let your life be in harmony with your goal. Let it be in harmony. So always put your goal at the forefront and see how you can find ways to keep your family, your kids, your spouse, everything, to find a way to harmonize itself. And it might take time, but eventually, if you're thinking in that direction, it would work out. It will work out for you.
Thank you.
Long time ago, I wanted to be a management consultant that would be traveling across the globe. Now, you could not pay me $1 million to do that. No, sorry. That's not the phase I'm in my life anymore. So understand that you're also going to grow and outgrow some of the things, and always understand what phase you're in and use that phase and just push and keep going.
Hey, Coach, I had a quick question. Before I say that, though, I want to make sure I say this before. Thank you for this. This was very inspirational, I should say, and life changing. So I see why you mentioned as far as what your goal is and as far as in life, and I can see that just doing this. I think everyone should have an opportunity, regardless of what you're doing in life, to have an opportunity to listen to this call. So I'm definitely going to make some changes as far as where I am and what I'm trying to do. So let me say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you for showing up.
Thank you. Aduns, you mentioned going into real estate. I know that, being into real estate, I know that's something I wanted to thought about going into some time ago, and I was just frustrated, motivated out of it. Would you mind doing it? Maybe not answering this today, but later on one of our sessions that we have, doing maybe a session on how you got started, or talking about.
Sure, I could, because I do real estate in both countries, over here and in Nigeria. So yes, I can share perception or my perspective on
how you got started
on another conversation. So yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I know that it's 11 minutes past the time. So does anybody have any last questions before we officially bring the call?
I have one last question, Coach. Can you do you mind giving some suggestions, some books that you may have read? Because everything you talked about sounds really amazing. And I know it took a lot of discipline to get to the point that you are right now. And I'm just wondering if you have any book recommendation on things that helped you with like having the proper mindset to get that discipline that you have.
I will probably have to go do my research, remember, but one thing I would say is I read every day for a minimum of an hour. It doesn't pass. Like, it's become so ingrained in me that I must read. I'm doing a 12-week challenge for those of you that might be following me on my personal channels. And before, I used to read on average a book a month. So even though I was reading every day, I will spread it out, like I was lazy about it. In the last, I think we're in week 7, we're going into week 8. I've been reading a book every week. So what I'm trying to say is, it's not in one book, right? It's in the multitude of books, the multitude of videos, the multitude of podcasts that combines the wisdom that you have that helps you, with whatever it is you're pursuing. So even though I might find certain books for you to kind of kick off, I would like to encourage you all to just be readers and start from, even if it's a page per day. Everything is practice, and practice makes us better. For me, one of the things I'm taking seriously this year is, my fitness. I want to take that really serious, and I'm looking at actively, losing pounds. And I remember that when I started, and one of my goals was to walk. My goal was to walk for 30 minutes, and walking for 30 minutes felt like the hardest thing I could do on this planet. 30 minutes. And when I'll tell my sister is like a fitness guru, she found it so difficult to comprehend. But yet, when it comes to reading and all that kind of stuff, because I remember she was telling me, but you can read for 2 hours a day, right? You can't find 30 minutes to go and read, because it came easy for her, it came difficult for me. And one day I was like, I'm just going to take that baby step. And I had a goal of 30 minutes. I ended up doing 20 minutes. And 20 minutes kept going and going and going. And girl, I can comfortably walk for 2 to 3 hours a day, and I'm not even complaining. I will complain when I get to 4 hours, because one day I pushed myself to 4 hours, and I feel like the next day, my legs were like, nah, you shouldn't have done that. What am I trying to say? Just take the first step, the first chapter, the first page. And then after a while, it's just going to come easy for you, and you keep doing it. So obviously I can probably make a few recommendations, kind of get you started, and then that way you can keep going. But there's so many books on mindset, I can't even remember, because I read so many books that sometimes it's not even, might not mindset related, but whatever I might read about might actually even help my mindset, because everything we read actually helps our mindsets directly or indirectly. And all. But yes, I can definitely make some recommendations and drop them in the chat to kind of help you get started. But I want to encourage everybody to start reading. Start reading. Life is so much easier when we read. When we read, we learn from other people's experience. I'm writing a book, right now, and I know how I'm pouring my experience and the mistakes I've made, so that you don't have to make that mistake in a book that you probably buy $10. But yeah, that's somebody's years of experience that you're going to learn from that book. Books are invaluable, and that's one habit that we all need to have, because it's just going to make life much easier for us at the end of the day. So that's one thing I would encourage us to do. But yes, I will share a few that can, help us kind of get started. Joe, you had your hand up. Is that a question or was that a mistake?
Yeah, it wasn't a question. It wasn't a mistake. I just wanted to make a contribution, just a very tiny one, that can help someone here. Yeah, so talking about reading books, coach, yeah, I think I tried my best to read books, but of course, not as disciplined as I can say as I would want it to. But there is a culture I developed for my family. I've got a very young family, first son. And then I looked at my son. One of those things that I want him to inherit from the family is a reading culture. Right? It's just going to be 8 months. And I looked at him, mom, I said, see, we need to start reading at least 4 times in a week as a family. So what we do, we take out 1 hour every day. Take out 1 hour for that session, and we read together. So we read out, we verbalize it. He's there, he's still a baby. Then we don't know if he's getting it or not, but then he's able to see what we are doing. And so currently we are reading Atomic Habits by James Clear. And why do I also want to talk about this? So this book is going to help us to build the good habits that we want, right? So because I think before we start doing things that we really want to do, we need to get into into building that good habit, right? So there's a lot of gems, there's a lot of direction. Yeah, all of these things coach is saying, it didn't happen to us overnight. So we need resources that is going to help us to know that yes, we can start small. Yes, we can make a certain percent of progress. Very minute. We might not be able to see it, but when we compound them, right, in the nearest future, we can be able to see the impact. So currently reading Atomic Habit, James Clear, and I think it's a good book. Just wanted to put that out.
I've read that. Yes, it's a good book.
Yeah.
And that's a good practice that you have. Yes, when it comes to kids, they see everything more than you think. So even me, sometimes I laugh, and I think I'll say this before we end the call. I laugh at an habit that I have that is not so good, but then because when I see my daughter do it, I'm quick to correct that. But I'm like, she learned that from me. So I'm like always in my office most of the time. And I feel like my office is upstairs, and sometimes I get so lazy to like go downstairs. So I'm so used to like shouting like for people's names. So I could be here and I'll shout my daughter's name so that she can hear me and come upstairs. And so I see her shouting upstairs for her brother to come up. And I'm like, why are you shouting his name? Because funny enough, when people
Wow.
shout, I don't like it. Funny, like it's so funny how I don't like people shouting my name. But yet, I have the habit of calling people. And then every time I'll tell her, why are you shouting? The girl will be looking confused. And then one day, I shouted and called her name from upstairs, like, girl, this girl learned it from you. So she feels like it's normal for you to stay upstairs and call her brother's name because she's older than her brother. Because she thinks like, cause I'm my mom, that's why I shout her name upstairs and make her
That's really, it is
So
really, really hilarious. Really.
these people, they learn from what you do. So trust me, as long as you're reading, is guessing. It might not make sense to you, but the whole concept is registering. That's one thing I like to say, because yeah, every time I see that plays out. So sometimes when I want to shout, I'll be like, girl, just walk downstairs and look for her.
Wow.
She's somewhere in this house. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. I think, I had a great time, sharing my experience with you guys. And I'm super excited that you guys also had a good experience learning from me and, understand that my life is not only limited to agile coaching. There's so many pieces of my life. So for those of you who are interested in kicking off your business or you need like business coaching advice, I am there to provide that service. It's not free. So yeah, but reach out to me and let me know what I can provide to you. And definitely, we meet every week. You can always use the opportunity to pose as a question, because obviously I'm not going to restrict how I'm going to answer questions in our community and all of that. It's only when you want to steal my one-on-one that might get crazy, because I have to find that time and all of that. But, otherwise, please, whatever interests you, bring that as a topic. We could discuss it. And, like I said, my overall goal is to help everybody that comes in contact with me to achieve their goals and their success. And I try to express it with everything that I do. And I'm sure that most of you might have recognized that, after today or even before today. So I'm very intentional with the things that I do. And I just want it to be the fact that, oh, I met this girl. And when I met this girl helps me to do X, Y, Z. That's just what I want to be known for, and I try my best to be able to learn more, grow a lot so that I'm able to provide that, because you can't give what you don't have. So, that forces me to want to read every day. It forces me to want to grow myself every day, just because for you to be that conduit of advice, you've got to also pull a good weight to be able to help people out there. So I'm super excited that we're able to do this today. Wishing you guys your best day, and just have a great weekend. And, we'll continue to have these conversations over the next couple of weeks and, a couple of months as you guys kind of like need it. All right, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
All right, Coach. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you too.
Thanks, everyone. See you. Bye.
Bye.